Thank you, Robin. Good evening and welcome. Creative writing and writing in general is by its very nature a gift both to the reader and to the writer. It is my pleasure to introduce Catherine Barna for the Graduate Student Service Award. A graduate of the MFA program with a concentration in poetry, Catherine organized and led writing workshops for veterans, one with a group of Veterans Administration Outreach and the second at ABRI Homes for the Brave, a transitional shelter in Bridgeport. Catherine chose to do these workshops as her third semester project after another MFA student, Colin Halloran, told her that the act of writing had saved his life when he returned from service in Afghanistan. As evidence of the importance of writing to Colin and his reintegration to civilian life after the trauma of war, he went on to publish his first collection of poetry shortly thereafter, a collection about his experiences in the war. Colin, in turn, referred Catherine to the works of James W. Pennebaker, whose books support the fact that expressing oneself in writing relieves physical stress, especially after trauma. In these workshops, Catherine led vets in discussions of fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. They wrote and then shared their work with one another. Catherine has considered it a privilege to listen to the words of these brave men. At the same time, she has continued her own writing as a creative writer. She recently had work published in West Trade Review, and for over a year she served in the English department as a graduate assistant and was a delight to work with. As a participant in the MFA program, she was a serious and dedicated writer and student of literature, and she brings that same seriousness of purpose and dedication to projects, both to her continuing work to help others through the act of writing and to her own poetry. She is a remarkably talented poet, and I have every confidence that we will be seeing much more of her published work in the coming years. And I know the veterans she worked with will benefit greatly from her expertise and her passion. I give you Catherine Barna.
Uh-oh. I left my notes on the table, but I thought I would explain why how I came to this. I have a friend named Paul who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and when he came back, he told me, thank you. Could I have my glasses too? He tried to explain to me how difficult the transition back to normal life was. His wife wanted to go to the movies, and he had been away for more than a year, but he came, I'm really sorry. So he took her to the movies, and he stood in the theater lobby with his popcorn and his tickets and his wife, and he looked at her and he said, "We have to leave. I can't do this." She was horrified. She had said, "I waited a year. I just want to go to the movies with my husband. What is the problem?" And he said, "Look around. Everyone's so happy. Everyone's having a good time, smiling, and my guys are back in the desert, humping around, chasing bullets." So it really struck me. It still breaks my heart today to think of what these people struggle with. And it was that broken heart that I took into my first residency. And at the first residency, I don't believe in coincidence, and I met, the keynote speaker was Larry Bloom. He had spent, and he talked in his keynote address about his return to Vietnam 40-some years after serving there. I also met Colin, as Michael White said, and I just really feel that what it says in Ephesians 2:10, that the Lord has laid out good works for us in advance of our arrival. It's just very true, and it was proven out in this MFA program for me. And it was truly an honor to step forward into that gap where people who had gone before me really laid out a path. I mentioned Larry Bloom, Colin, But Dr. Bowen in the English department said, you need to speak with Dee Lippman in the nursing school. And Dee was just every bit as wonderful as they told me she would be, and she introduced me to Homes for the Brave. I am just tickled tonight that Roberto Santos, a very courageous man who accepted me. I basically cold called the Veterans Administration and said, I have this idea for a workshop. And he said, okay, you can try it on my guys. And I remember the first day there, I was horrified. I thought, what was I thinking? How many men like to sit around and have women read poetry to them? But thankfully, I read the first poem, Here Bullet, by Brian Turner, and it was so quiet you could have dropped a pin. And one of the guys looked at me and said, that gave me goosebumps. And I realized that our words have tremendous power. Our words and our ability to listen to one another both should not be underestimated. I really want to thank Michael. I've given him a lot of hassles, and it just shows you how generous he is that he could come up here and speak so well of me, as well as Elizabeth Hastings. She works tirelessly, both of them, to keep the MFA not only alive but thriving. I should also mention my good friends at my table, Pam and Patty, who have been second mothers to my 4 children. Even Elizabeth, who are here tonight, they've eaten plenty of leftovers. And also my husband of 29 years, Michael Barna. It's really an honor that you would recognize this work at all. I hope that in your hearts you have a place for veterans. And truly, I did receive the gift, because I've always thought my love of poetry is a gift. It's not commercially viable, but it is a gift. And you know, it's just a nicely wrapped package, like any gift, until you give it away. So people, please share your gifts. Thank you.